All right, we're now joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Cobalt Tool Chevrolet, currently ranked first in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series point standings. Jimmie, obviously a big weekend for you guys. Talk a little bit about coming to Phoenix.
Excited to get on the track. It looks like it's still pretty slick, and I watched the trucks practice last night, and there's been a couple quick cautions this morning, so I'm hopeful the nationwide cars really rubber the racetrack in, and we can get the track to evolve in short order and have a great practice session here in an hour or so.
All right, if you have a question for Jimmie, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation. It is obviously a little loud with practice going on, so if you can just make sure to speak into the microphone. Okay, let's start with Tom up front, and then we'll make our way around.
Hi, Jimmie. Tom Jensen, Speed.com. You've been here before many times in this situation. How does right now compare to years past, and how do you like your chances?
At this point, regardless of our point situation, I still came here ready to race, and we've won some races here and have been able to run in the top 5, which was very important to lead into a comfortable homestead. I've been on the ropes here racing Denny, and things worked out from a fuel mileage standpoint that closed the gap. Went to Homestead and had to race for it. I've been here before with Gordon dueling it out, and we won. He might have been second or third in the race, and that's the year that reminds me the most of what I'm dealing with right now. I expect Brad to be strong here. He and I raced real hard for third or fourth position at the closing laps of the spring race, and I would assume we'll be right there running, nose to tail once again when the checker flag falls on Sunday.
All right, let's go Marty Smith, Claire, Monty, and then...
Marty Smith, ESPN. Johnson, what do other drivers say to you in passing or whatnot when you see him in the motorhome lot or whatnot about beating Brad? What are their comments to you about your opportunity to win this championship because you're racing him?
I haven't had anybody specifically point out, the competition with Brad. I've had guys talk about, here you are in position again, give me some encouragement. Just saw Clint Boyer in the motorhome lot, and he said a lot of things that I can't say on TV. Something about the rear end of anybody, and I'm that part for winning last weekend. Not the cheeks, the other part, in his words. So, highly entertaining whenever it comes to Boyer, as we all know. But, I feel like there's, I have a lot of friends in the garage area, and people are maybe they're not happy to see me, in position to win a championship, but I think a lot of people respect the position we're in and what the team has done and what I have done, and I think that respect shows on the racetrack too. There's been a lot of respectful driving around Brad and I on the racetrack, and guys have let us race for this thing. So it's been good.
All right, let's go to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. With 60 wins, your 8th in all-time wins. Earnhardt 7th with 76. How important is it to you to get to that level, throwing championships aside, but wins? And also, I saw you running yesterday as I came into the track, doing your run around the track. Are you able to do that, kind of lay back, get the stress out, and not get recognized by a lot of people?
Kind of. I left the track and ran out through the motorhome lot, and on my way out, no one saw me, and then on the way back, people knew I was coming, and signed a few autographs, took a few pictures. But training, I have my event coming up in December, so I have to keep the miles in and keep going. But it's been a great way to make sure that I'm tired every night and go to sleep and sleep with a clear mind. So just continuing to follow my routine and what I do. As far as chasing Earnhardt, I didn't know that he was the next one in line, and there's a good gap between 60 and 76, so I hope to get there, and it would be a huge honor for me to be able to tie the man. So I hope to do that, certainly.
Can we get a microphone up front, please? Okay, right here to Monty.
Monty Dutton, Yes Gazette. I have to say, I feel like I'm in a Saturday Night Live skit with all this. Those of us who watch the races, we look at a track and it looks exactly like it used to. But you guys often speak of a slight change. It's turned into a whole new thing. Since this track was changed, you've been 14th and 4th Keselowski's been 18th and 5th. Is this a whole new learning process, or is this still the place where you've won 4 times and I think one time 3 out of 4, or won a stretch of races?
I really think it's a new place. You know, the old track it was really abrasive, and tire wear was important. We did see a few things come down, a few mileage at the end, but you know, the mindset really was working on your race car, tire fall off, and you'd come in and pit and put 4 on. That game's changed here now. I would assume, you know, the track's evolved a little, but what we've seen with these new repaves, whatever the mix is that they put down, it takes a long time for it to evolve. And I look at the Charlotte track as the best example. It may be a little easier to drive on now, but it's still the same tire wear as when they repaved it 4 or 5 years ago. It hasn't changed back to the old Charlotte yet. So this track is going to be very similar to the way it was in the spring, and I feel like we're on a new sheet of paper with the track as it is, and I feel like our 4th is representative of where we are now with the new track. You know, we had a great performance, a little room to improve, but not the track that it was before.
Yep, Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. You've had times in your career where you won 4 races in a row, where you've run off these strings of greatness. What's it feel like to be in that zone?
Man, it's crazy to experience it. You know, in years past when we've been on those runs, you know, there's plenty of challenging moments through the course of a race weekend, and to have things work out and to watch a team come together and work so hard to work through adversity and to not let adversity affect you know, the execution, the temperament of the team, the morale of the team. It's something special to be a part of, and you know, we had some amazing years where we could string those together, and I hope that, you know, we have 2 going. I hope we can keep that string going right now and rattle off 2 more.
All right, let's go to Jenna, Mark, Newton, and then Lee.
Jennifer AP. Whenever I see that This Is My Chase commercials, whenever I see Brad's, I always go, oh yeah, that's right. No, everybody used to hate Brad. And it struck me last week again when he raced you in those final restarts, and he didn't do something and he didn't wreck you, and then the whole thing came about, you know, why didn't he? Because back in the day when he was really aggressive, that's something he might have done. And I'm wondering, you know, when you look back on that and the progression he's made, do you think about that, the changes he's made, and did that go through your mind, and what's changed about him, and why do you think maybe he didn't get real aggressive there and make a move like that and just go for broke there?
Well, I really feel like he was extremely aggressive and had that mindset of go for broke, but you know, we all evolve as drivers, and I think he was more in control of his vehicle Sunday night than he was when he was, you know, new to the sport. And then the other thing is, you know, certain drivers, and I've been a part of it too, you have a magnet for a certain car, and you know, it was Carl and Brad that had that issue that was going, and where a lot of that, you know, came from. I don't really recall him having big issues with other drivers. With Denny, he did? I don't even remember that one. I know our history, you know, between Brad and myself, we haven't had that, and so I've always raced him with you know, clear mind and not worried. I mean, sure, racing stuff happens and you make mistakes. Everybody does. I make plenty myself, but it never crossed my mind that he would make an intentional move to dump me. There's only a few people out there wired like that, and I think in today's world there's probably less. Like it or not, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, people race really, really hard, and I think Brad did. But to just go in the corner and dump someone, man, that's tough to do. You know, then you know, you play into the karma thing, and then there's always next week. You know, there's a variety of things that come with that, and I don't think there are many guys out there that would haul off to the turn and just dump their competition for the championship.
Okay, let's go to David or Mark, and then David Newton.
Dean McNulty, Toronto Sun. Chad said earlier this week that at this time of year, people who are chasing you have to raise their game, but the 48 team doesn't have to. You sort of remain on a plane. Is that the way you operate as a driver?
Well, I think it's really led by Chad's direction. He treats every race as if we're in the chase and leans on us all. You know, there's parts of the year where myself, my team members look at him and we're like, man, it's June. Why are you cracking the whip so hard? But that's the way Chad operates. And I'm thankful that he does, because he never sits back and relaxes on past performance, and it's all about the present and working as hard as you can each and every week. So, you know, a lot of that, he made the comment, and a lot of it's due to his personality and the way he runs a race team. You know, myself, I'm usually a little bit more laid back. It's not that I'm trying any harder now, but I can let stuff fall off my shoulders a little easier middle of the year than he can. Right now, you know, if you're going to be the champion, you can't shrug something off. You have to focus on every single point and make sure you can get every point you can on the track. So I guess maybe I'm more like his mindset when the chase starts, and prior to that I'm a bit more relaxed.
Jimmy, Mark Armiel, the Arizona Republic. Do you have the sense that the 2 is not going to choke, they're not going to disappear, and you're going to need 2 terrific races to win this thing?
Yeah, that's the way I have to enter each race. I have to expect the best out of them, and I've said that through the whole chase. And when there was 12 of us that had a shot, you know, I was focused on all 12, and then it's worked its way down to really just one car. And you know, we're here to race, and we need to get every point that we can and expect the most out of the 2.
Newton, ESPN.com. When you look at what Tony Stewart said last week, he referred to a death wish Keselowski had. What did you think he meant by that specifically? And a second question I want to ask you, with the nationwide standings, they're tied now. Last year coming here it was 17 points difference. With a new simpler point system, is that an argument that you don't need to chase anymore?
I didn't see the comments after last weekend with what Tony said, so I really don't know what he's referencing. The nationwide stuff, I mean, we saw it time and time again in the Cup Series that you would get a couple close years here and there, but really there was a runaway year. I feel like from an odds standpoint, your chances of having a close championship battle are best with the chase. You know, and the Cup Series is proof of that. We wouldn't have changed if it wasn't the situation. I'm happy to see the Nationwide Series tied right now. It's great TV and great to watch, and it's very hungry guys out there trying to make their mark.
Jimmy, you've always in your career, way back when, set goals for yourself. And originally the goals weren't that far out, but I've noticed over the years when you've talked about goals, you've sort of pushed the envelope. And I'm wondering now at this stage where you are in your future goals. Where do you want to end up with? What do you want to be? Where do you want to be when this whole thing comes to a conclusion?
It's hard to say, and I still, live my life and live each day just looking at what's right in front of me. I've been asked the question a lot about long term and where I want to be, the mark I want to leave in the sport, and it's something I haven't put a lot of thought into, but I feel like I've had lame answers for everybody over the years and needed to think about it for once and have a good answer. And I made this reference a few times, but a friend of mine said to me that limits begin where the vision ends, and I want to be considered the best driver to ever sit in a stock car, and the undisputed way to pull that off is to win 8 championships. So that's what I said a few months back, and I know that I put that mark way out there in front of me, and it's a lofty goal, but I've accomplished everything. Every goal I've set in front of myself I've knocked down, and I'm going to put one way out there, and hope I get there. If I don't, I know that I've tried and given 100%, and very proud of whatever the stats are at that point when I retire, but putting one way out there, and we'll see if I can get to it.
All right, next we're going to go to Lewis and then Lee, and then we'll go to Dave and Jim, Dustin, and we'll end in the back in the blue. Go ahead, right up in front.
Lewis, Frank, Reuters, and Speedweek. Perhaps a vested interest. How's an update on the Sandy Fund coming?
I'm not sure how it's going. I know we made our contribution, and I'm hopeful that others have donated as well. I got some news that for our building, where our apartment's held, that it could be 3 more months before we have power, or be back on our own power system. They have some auxiliary power that they're hopeful to get in within 2 weeks, but before our building is functioning like it was, it's at least another 3 months. So, I mean, and believe me, the apartment wasn't cheap. I mean, this is a nice place. So I can only imagine the devastation and destruction on many levels throughout Manhattan, Staten Island. Our motorhome is on the New York satellite, and we're watching the local news in Staten Island. I can't believe the devastation there. So hopefully others are inspired to donate as well, and we can try to help out. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if we can get a microphone to Lee right here.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Obviously, you've been tied up with the championship, but what are your impressions of the 2013 car?
I tested it at Martinsville, and it was real hard to sense much being different on a short track. The car on the bigger tracks, I've heard various feedback, it has less downforce, so the car has more movement, slipping and sliding. But I don't put a lot of stock in it yet because all the teams haven't had a chance to really refine it. I'm not even sure we have the overall templates set for the car yet. So I haven't looked too far into it, and I know and believe that between the affiliation with Chevrolet and that work that Hendrick Motorsports does, it will come out swinging. And I also know that with the the testing that's opened up, plus the additional test sessions that NASCAR has released to get the car in raceable fashion, we'll work through it all pretty quick and get things where they need to be. But I haven't heard anything terrible from feedback, and my own experience in the car at Martinsville is great. So it's really just the aero balance, I believe, on the high-speed tracks, which I haven't had a chance to feel on my own yet.
All right, go ahead,
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Jimmy, the last year and a half or so, people have got to know Brad. They've had 10 years, a dozen years of getting to know you. I mean, we go through this pretty much every fall. Are there still, after all this time, misconceptions about you, people not seeing you really for who you are? And is there any of that bugs you?
I learned a long time ago that it's hard to make everybody happy. And I have seen in the last 3-4 years, there are plenty of markers to show it, that the fan base has shifted heavily, and there are a lot of very avid 48 fans that are out there. But with that said, I'm sure there are some that just don't like me, and that's fine. That's cool. It's sports. It's how it is, and nothing has bothered me. I've heard it all, and I guess also in my lesson a while back, I learned that if I know someone and they have a problem with me, then I should take heart. But as from a fan's perspective, in the way things happen within sports, if somebody says something ugly, they don't know me, so why am I going to take it to heart? It's just fandom and people supporting their teams and who they want to support. Yep.
Okay, right there, Jim.
Jim Peltz, Los Angeles Times. Jimmy, sort of along those same lines, within 48 hours of you winning in Texas, there were numerous articles, blog posts, and readers' comments, etc., bemoaning the fact that you were now in the lead and were poised for another title. Now, this isn't exactly news. We've been doing this, since 2009, but I'm still curious, the fact that it rears its head as soon as you take the lead, the points lead, how that makes you feel.
It makes me smile. I mean, I really don't care. I'm doing my job. I've worked my entire life to get to this point in my career, and I wasn't around to see the Petty era, but I know that I can only assume that a lot of people were tired of seeing the King win. I know that a lot of people were tired of seeing Earnhardt win. I lived it firsthand and watching Jeff Gordon go through that very same thing after his 4th championship. So it's not that I'm in this unique situation. I mean, if we go back through and pull the clips from previous champions and guys that have been on runs before, it's the same stuff. I mean, it's absolutely the same stuff. So I'm not doing anything different than Gordon, Petty, Earnhardt. In fact, I'm awfully damn proud to be in that lump of guys that had it go from cheers to boos. And when they go back to cheering you again, when you stop winning. So I don't want the cheers. I'll keep the boos. That's fine.
All right, let's wrap up these last 2 questions quickly so Jimmy can go ahead. Dustin, and then the gentleman in the blue in the back.
Dustin Long, USA Today. After last week's race, you tweeted back to Brad about, thanks for going to victory lane, and Brad tweeted back to you, thanks for Road Atlanta. for being there at Road Atlanta. And his comment earlier this week was just that, you know, he said about you, about Road Atlanta, he said he cared when he didn't have to. And I know you were there for the crash. I remember you taking the photos, and I think you tweeted a couple things. What happened at Road Atlanta between you and him? Was that get to know him in one sense a little bit better through that experience? Did that change any perceptions? Because certainly it seems like it had somewhat of a profound effect on Brad.
Yeah, when I saw his reply, it took me a second or two to take it in. I'm like, wait a second, we're Atlanta. He crashed. And then it went, the few minutes following his crash ran through my mind, and I think Chad and I were in a Tahoe, ran down there. You know, we're one of the first people on the scene, helping him get out of the car, helping him kind of find his bearings. Checked up with him when he was at the hospital, and you know, just, I mean, it was a heck of a crash, and I don't think, I was just concerned for him, you know, and maybe that was something different than what he had experienced with other racers, but that's me, you know. I'm concerned for people, and especially seeing a big impact like that firsthand. I mean, it got my attention, and the next day and a half of testing, every time I went into turn one, I could see his marks where he went off the road and hit down there. I'm like, man, that was ugly. So, you know, I'm glad that meant something to him. It wasn't my intentions, and you know, he knows where I am with my morals, and you know that I do care about others. And he, I don't think the situations are identical by any means, but the fact that he's the only driver that came to victory lane to shake my hand after the race in Texas. You know, I just thought that took a lot of class, and you know, it's tough in this moment when we're both racing and trying to achieve our dreams as being champion in the sport, and for him to put a smile on his face, come to victory lane and shake my hand, I thought was a big move on his behalf.
Right.
Patrick Laban. Looking ahead to Homestead next week, you have a lot of momentum right now, but obviously Brad is not giving up. Your thoughts on going to Homestead, and how much of a factor will your championship experience play next week?
You know, a lot of our agenda for Homestead depends on how things go here. But I'm assuming we're both going to run well, and it's going to be a tight points margin going into Homestead, and just show up to race. You know, we went down there in 2010 and needed a race and finished second. Last year we were running real well and had an issue with the engine that caught us out, and we had a poor finish. But I'm assuming we're going to have to go there and race hard, and we're ready for that.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Good luck this weekend.